The living room, where the family meets to discuss issues, any issue which may be bothering one of the family members. That's what we do each and every Tuesday on WAC 90.1 FM with Ricardo Mitchell and DJ Aaron 868. We have casual conversations on serious topics, from sports to culture, mental health to economics, relationships to life lessons. Join us each and every Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. on WAC 90.1 FM. The Living Room, casual conversations on serious topics.
It is now 6 p.m. here in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know what time it is where you are, but I'm glad to know you're locked on to the true nation station, WACK 90.1 FM, where we are.
Culture crazy.
Yeah, what cough now?
Hey, don't make that bad joke, you know. Don't make that bad joke. I don't even know if you could say cough on the radio again, because from what I hear in certain things on the... Anyway, I hear you, but don't make no joke about coughing again. You can see for yourself just now.
Okay, cool, no problem. If you don't know the program you're listening to, this is The Living Room with yours truly, DJ Aaron 868. I remind you that culture is my code, alongside my bro with no fro but a lot of flow.
Ricardo Mitchell, the social sage on the global stage.
And first and foremost, before we go any further, we wouldn't be true stalwarts and representatives of our culture if we did not take a minute. No, well, probably not the whole minute, but take a moment to pay homage and pay respects to the now deceased Miss Denyse Plummer, a true servant of our culture, of the Kaiso arena, and in her later years, the gospel arena. Right? If you want to take in a body of her work, the gospel arena that is, you could go on YouTube and search for WAC, Up Close and Personal, Denyse Plummer. Right? If you want to catch some of her work. And also we want to pay respects to an author that graced us with one of the best books that I have ever read. A Year in San Fernando. Mr. Michael Anthony. Right?
Michael Anthony changed my life, you know. Changed my life.
San Fernando.
Green is by the river and thing. The man plant a seed in my heart. No, you good. God bless you.
Right, so as we continue to do our work here on the True Nation station to keep our culture alive, we implore that you who are listening to this show live or afterwards do your civic duty to ensure the continuity of our culture. All right.
Having done that part, Aaron, we must give thanks and praise to the Almighty for granting us the gift of life and allowing us to see another day. Because no matter what time of day it is, you must always
give thanks. And secondly, we must say thank you to those that went before us. We are not just talking about our ancestors, the original inhabitants of Trinidad and Tobago, because we all know, accept, reiterate, and say it would be chest at Columbus line, but also to our brother in music, Tony Prescott, where the P to speak stands for
Parade, my brother, parade.
I thought it was Parkade.
Well, no. I'll go come on, it had time for that. We're going on with the parkade.
They just opened the parkade in Sando.
Oh yeah, well I hear that. But Thursday, dog. Thursday is Independence Day parade, boy.
You going the parade?
No.
Cool.
No,
but
sir.
Yes, there will be a parade at 6 a.m. on Thursday morning in the Queen's Park in Port of Spain, Queen's Park, Savannah. If you could go out. If you want to watch it on TV, wake up early, watch it on TV. But most importantly, try your best to wake up at 6 a.m. and sing the national anthem with pride.
Correct is right. Yeah. Point of note, this is for my brothers and sisters in the protective services. If you know you're going to be participating in our Independence Day parade, please hydrate. All right?
Yeah, boy.
Please. In sun that was less sunnish than this sun that we under, people used to faint and what Thursday?
The sun that's sunny now.
The sun that's sunny now. Listen, there's no sun again. Now this is farther, but it ain't right. Quick point of note. A taxi driver I traveled with yesterday made a valid point, because we were having a discussion about micro entrepreneurs and that type of thing. Food under this temperature might not last as long as it would have. If it had to spoil, it's spoiling faster. If it had to melt, it's melting faster, so on and so forth. Be mindful of your choices in terms of what you're consuming over the in this particular heat that we're dealing with. It's not everybody equipped to handle this intensity of temperature.
All right.
Yeah.
We moving real quick today. So we're gonna bring in another national treasure. They would have performed at the TASA Championships over the weekend. So we're gonna bring in right now Vorish with our musical intro.
Welcome to the living room. Welcome to the living room. Welcome to the living room. Welcome to the living room.
And we are back. It's an independence episode, but we taking independence with a different spin. We want to talk about releasing athletics from the shackles of mediocrity in our country. Actually, no, that's not what we're really doing now, but we just want to talk about the fact that we need to invest more in athletics in Trinidad and Tobago. And I think we have the righteous person on board with us to have this conversation.
So what you're saying, Aaron, based on Jamaica's performance in athletics over the past decade plus, the real man to talk about the way forward is the Jamaican rep himself.
I was just going to go over the angle that the best person to have this discussion is somebody that would have recently posted an article on LinkedIn as well as a video on YouTube for those of us who don't like to read, to listen to the article. So no stranger to the living room is none other than Mr. Adrian Palmer.
All right, well, thanks, gentlemen. I'm happy to be back in the living room. We have some interesting discussions here, and I'm happy to, to share some thoughts and some opinions. And as I say, I've been here 7 going 8 years now, and I've lived in Jamaica quite some time. So I think I've gotten a balance of both countries. And one thing I could definitely tell you, and it's no mama guy thing, Trinidad and Tobago definitely has a lot of talented youth. A lot of talented youth, and I just think that because of how the systems that we have now, it's not allowing for the exposure and the development of a lot of our young people. And I think once we correct that, then we could start to see a lot more great athletes coming out from Trinidad and Tobago, because the potential is definitely there.
Agreed. I like the fact that you could speak from both a systemic level and also on another element at a professional level as a physiotherapist. You could probably help us understand why having a proper system would also facilitate these athletes reaching not just the peak, but having longer and more impactful careers, because we have athletes packing up because the body's buckling under the pressure, that type of thing as well. So I'm glad that you're in the room, that we could have a discussion as to how to approach this thing from more than one angle.
But before we get down to the spikes on the bottom of the shoes,
Yes.
right? The things to give you proper grip. We want to make sure that everybody in here has a proper grip on their reality. So we ask you the most important question that you're going to be asked inside today's interview. Adrian, how are you?
Well, I am fine. I'm good. I'm grateful. I'm alive. There's hope. There's inspiration. So I am good. If I don't have any of those, or if I'm lacking in one of those, then I would not be in a space or the place to say, I am good. But so far, I'm good, man.
Nice.
Excellent report, man.
Nice. Ricardo, you're going to evade the question today, or can I ask you?
No. I tend to try to deflect from answering this question, because how are
9
you?
out of 10 times.
Oh, so you're a statistician now? But anyway, all your accountants, eh? But I have come to terms with the fact that I am tired. But I am grateful because I am tired because I'm being productive versus tired because I'm frustrated. Right, so my fatigue comes with gratitude, and immense gratitude. God definitely has definitely put me to proper use, and I'm grateful for the fact that I could start to see the work that I'm doing impacting the environment around me. So short answer, Aaron, tired but grateful.
Yeah, but grateful.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. And you yourself, sir, I see you're very well groomed and the head properly polished and things. So you ready for independence celebrations?
Actually, I'm trying to be a little more ready to go at any moment in terms of having myself looking presentable, because I'm realizing now the last minute calls are becoming more frequent. So I always have to be ready to go pick up my laptop bag, pick up whatever it is to go and do a job, if it comes to DJing or hosting, or even, if it's something as simple as just to go make an appearance somewhere, as apparently I get called for those things now.
That's a good point you make. I remember several years ago when I was a little boy, an Englishman, he's a returning resident that lived in the community. And he used to always tell me that, he said, Adrian, always be prepared. He said, even always be prepared to give a speech. He said, if you're going to a function, be prepared to give a speech. If you're in a certain line of profession, just always be prepared, because you just never know. People just call upon you sometimes at the last minute. So that point that you made, it's a reminder to myself, and I'm happy you mentioned it.
Yeah, well, the lesson I will take from that is to make sure and have my haircuts and that are reasonably marked off and so on and so forth, because sometimes you go to a place and you're required to take off your hat, or you're just throwing some clothes and run out the road, and then I realize that you're going to be captured in the immortality of the internet.
Yeah, but that's a real serious thing. That's a real serious thing.
Yeah.
Right? So Adrian, recently we had the recently concluded Youth Commonwealth Games here in Trinidad and Tobago, right?
Yeah.
Where Trinidad would have done reasonably well within the medal haul, behind two of the larger Commonwealth countries that will be like England and Australia.
Yes.
Right? I don't know. I went and watched some Australians ride in the cycling center in Couva, and I thought it was big man I was watching, and they was under the age of 9. But anyhow, yeah, Cardo, I saw quick those win.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, Adrian, talk to us. Are you proud to know that Trinidad would have hosted such a monumental event?
No, I am very proud. And for the fact that it was also largely voluntary, a lot of the persons would have participated, and it shows something. And, as we're celebrating the independence of Trinidad and Tobago, we know that over the years, a lot of investment would have been made in sports facilities here. And, people say all kind of things. They'll say, it's a waste of money, or we don't manage things good, and, all these comments. But there was also the vision that Trinidad and Tobago could be a hub for sports tourism. And for them to host an event such as the Commonwealth Youth Games, and I'm saying it was well done, and not just from a person on the inside. When you listen to, because I'm on LinkedIn a lot, and when you listen to some of the chef de missions from, where is this guy from? Singapore, Australia, and some of these other countries, it's good reviews they are giving. So it was well executed, and and I'm proud to be a part of a nation that could pull off something like that,
I like that. Cardo, you want to ask anything before I move on, or?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I'm curious, because I know you're as much Trini as you're Jamaica now. And nobody could take that from you, right? Nobody could take that from you. When you see things like this going on in Trinidad, when you look at the success of Jamaica on the international scale, do you feel almost a responsibility now to marry those two cultures, no pun intended, but to marry those two cultures such that right, such that we could get a best of both worlds type of scenario in sport going forward?
I definitely see it, and the Ministry of Sports and Community Development has been making similar moves. In 2019, they had lecturers from GC Foster College, that's a sports college in Jamaica, that came in Tobago and was doing some training with various sports professionals. And for the past 2 weeks, they have been in Trinidad this year again, doing something similar. And some of even the comments I would have made is the same comments they came here and they are making as well. As I said, I accept that Jamaica will not be Trinidad and Tobago, and Trinidad and Tobago will not be Jamaica. But with every Caribbean island, there are little things that makes us different, but there are a lot of things that actually makes us together. We share, a lot of a common thread. And when I look at the performance of Jamaica on the world stage, and when I look at Trinidad and Tobago, sometimes it feels a little bit disappointing. And it's not disappointing. No, let me tell you why it's disappointing. It's disappointing because we know the potential is there. And in my line of work, I would have worked with a lot of kids and youths in almost every sport you could think of in Trinidad and Tobago, even EA Sports. To tell you, right? Yeah. I work with athletes from every sport you could think of in Trinidad, even archery, right? Yeah. And I'm telling you, we have a lot of talented athletes. But one of the things that's lacking here is really the development, or having systems that facilitate the growth of these athletes, especially from a youth to a professional level. So when I look and I see Jamaica doing well, and then I see Trinidad not doing well, or it's not doing as well, so sometimes it's a little bit disappointing to me, because I am on the inside and I know the potential is there. If the potential wasn't there, I would have said, well, but the potential is there. And, when I say we the people, we the leaders, we all have to do something so we could capitalize, or we could help to develop. Because as I was thinking the other day, I'm saying, not every child that goes to school will be the doctor, the engineer, some persons just probably won't be on the academic side of things. Some persons will have skills and trades, and, we talk about these things countless times. Yeah. But there are also some persons who would excel in sports. That's their gift. That's their talent. You can't take that from them. That's a God-given gift. And in the education system, or in whichever system we have to find a way to find these young people and have the correct system in place to develop them so that they could shine in their talents. Because when we look at the world champs that closed recently, an individual competition first place prize was $70,000 US, right? $70,000 US. And if you broke a world record, that was an additional $100,000 US. So money is in it. So we normally promote other careers because we say it could make a lot of money. But if a person has a talent in certain sports, and we get them involved and develop them, they could come and make a lot of money from it too. So I'm thinking it deserves equal attention. I want to do something like that. I could look and I could say Jamaica doing well, and I could look and say Trinidad and Tobago doing well.
I have one bad question and one serious question to ask. At my advanced age in life, is it too late for me to get involved in athletics now?
you call him out on the radio to lie to you, Aaron?
Well, it depends, Mm-hmm. Well, it depends. You want to compete, or you want to be a support personnel? Because look at it this way, right? If one man winning the 70,000, and you could train 5 men to win 70,000, you get a cut from all 5. Facts. Yeah,
I'll take that. You know what? That's a real diplomatic answer.
Mm-hmm. Well played.
Ricardo would have just tell me no.
Well, I want to know if it have over 40 categories, because I don't mind coming 4th or 5th. If first place is 70,000, I could get in the game.
You could get in the game.
But now back to the seriousness of this matter here. Mm. I do understand, and we openly reiterate here in the living room, that not everybody is made out to be a doctor, engineer, or lawyer.
Yes.
And to the parents that are listening, we implore that if your child is inclined athletically, that you find a means to assist them to get to that channel of life, right? There are various sports clubs throughout Trinidad and Tobago that you could get your child involved. And it's not just athletics we're talking here. Cycling, swimming,
Swimming, yeah.
tennis, golf. I see an archery club down in Palm. It's on the field on the boulevard. I'd be afraid to go there next thing you know somebody in aiming straight. But I'm just saying, if your child is into athletics in any sporting discipline, and we're not just talking football or cricket here, because we all know and we have heard inclinations that if you're from South, you can't make a national team, but we ain't here to talk about all that today. We just here to talk about the fact that if your child wants to go into athletics, that as a parent, you push them. And for those of you listening right now on Facebook, on YouTube, or even on YouTube after the show, comment in the comments right now and let us know an athletic club close to you so that somebody else will get that information as well. Right? That's one. The second thing is the importance of rest, Adrian. And I'm going to use football as the example here. We all know that in our youth, you go on here, you have training after school, or you have training on a Saturday morning. And then when you reach home in the evening, you want to go and sweat with the fellas on the road because you know what, I'm a boy, so I want to go and sweat. How important is implementing a proper rest regime if you want to become an A-class athlete?
All right, so when we're looking at, and it goes right back to what I'm saying, development is very important, especially through the teenage years, going up to the age of 18, 19, when you become, semi-professional or professional. It's not just to look at rest. We want to look at what we call load, right? How much work the person is encountering. It's possible that, you could train and then after training, you go and do other things, especially when you're young, and would encourage that. What I would not encourage is like football after football. Because in football, you'll be in training, and in training, it will be focused on certain movements, certain muscle groups. So you're training and you're loading those muscle groups, right? After football, you reach home, you still want to go play some more football or something on the street, So what you're doing, you're using the same set of muscles again. So what happens sometime over time, you overuse those muscles, and they develop what we call overuse injuries. And it's even happening to older persons as well. But if, for example, you have a question there?
No. Older persons.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So, so that does but if you play football and then in the evening probably you play a little volleyball, or you go and do something else, then that's not bad because you're stimulating different muscles and that kind of thing. Right? But rest is still equally as important. It's recommended that, especially in the teenage years, that you get at least 9 hours of sleep when you're in sports. 9 hours of sleep. Because it's during sleep that the body does a lot of preparing, right? Because when you're training, if you look at the nervous system, we have what we call the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, right? So the sympathetic nervous system is what increase your heart rate, your breathing rate, and it gets you up to a level, so you could go and exercise and flex your muscles and do all these things. But when you rest and relax, the opposite system, which is the parasympathetic system, brings back the heart rate down, brings back the breathing down, and helps the body to recover. So during sleep, that system gets to work very well. Your body gets to utilize the different nutrients that it takes from foods and all these things. So that is why sleep is important. And that's why you find a lot of middle-aged people who don't get enough sleep, right? They're going to say, boy, why my blood pressure is so high? And I'm eating a set of salt and I'm eating a this, but my blood pressure high. And you're going to think it's stress. Sometimes it's because they're not getting sleep. And when they're not getting sleep, the heart and those other organs not getting to recover as properly as it should. But back to your question for student athletes, 9 hours of sleep is recommended. And it's good for them to be involved in various sports and activities to prevent overuse injuries.
I want to just interject quickly for the parents who listening and for the odd youth who would tune in. Turn off your tablet, come off the laptop, put on the phone, because what you're also seeing is these youths, because they're young and the body is prone to recovery, or at least higher energy levels, they feel they could stay up late and then still make training and still go and sweat and perform accordingly, right? But it is not so. The question that when you see a mediocre or a failed performance and I ask them, well, what time you went and sleep? 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and they figure because when they wake up they're not tired, that the body unaffected. Right? So what we're looking at also, one of the reasons a lot of the youth not sleeping is because of things like screen addiction, phone addiction.
Yes.
Right? So it's not just the what, some of the why have to come into play too.
And I want to say, Ricardo, and something that in the teenage years is something very common is relationship development. Be it with your brethren or the young lady that you may be talking to or the young man you may be talking to. You know, wanting to stay up late to be on the phone. So, and it's something that we don't really address much. We always say, well, just put on the phone, stop playing game or whatever the case may be, but we do have to address the fact that sometimes it's the relationship that you're trying to build, which may be causing you to lose your sleep or increase your stress levels, which would inadvertently affect the performance that you put out on the track or the field.
Yes, that's really important because there are a lot of studies that could show you that when an athlete is sleep deficient, and by sleep deficient, it means they're not meeting the recommended 9 hours of sleep each night. When you're sleep deficient, it results in slower speed and a lot of different markers of performance, like your jumping ability, your precision, your accuracy, and those kind of things. All of that is impaired when you're not getting enough sleep. And so that could be, and that is one of the strong reasons why when you don't get enough sleep, when you go out on the field of play, you see the performance is not as how it should be,
And not to be that guy, but there are certain legendary athletes locally, regionally, who have reputations of being stellar performers on the field, and then you're hearing that the burning a rod, the smoking a cigarette on the bench, or just before the match start, or they went the lineman whole night and then showing up and performing. And there are youths now who figure they could go a boat ride and then go and put on the uniform. And there was a joke, the stag and japs that Kivo mentioned a couple of times. Well, the mentality that you put in one set of rubbish in your body.
Stag and japs football.
Right, you're putting rubbish in your body, you're not resting, right? You're doing things that actually go into detract from your performance, and then you're disappointed when you get your results on the field.
Now, to add to that, if you look at some of the top tier coaches in European football, and some of the things that you see there's always talk about the fines list, right? That you would see teams leaking or whatever the case is. Or you talk about the fact that Sir Alex Ferguson would have scolded players for coming in late the night before a game. Understand the level that is needed, not just on the field, but off the field, to make sure that you perform well. And also, Adrian, I know we invited you here today to have a great conversation with us, but I am also feeling attacked. The amount of times in the last 10 minutes this man mentioned 9 hours of sleep, I am feeling attacked.
Hold on. You might say teenage athletes, Aaron, I'm not sure which of the two boxes or you think you're ticking right now, but he's not coming at you.
No.
But the adults don't fall at about 8 hours, 78 hours, So
and that's what I'm going to say. It's not that I'm looking at it from I'm still in my teenage years, because I'm far from. But what I'm looking at it from is that even if you want to do something or be athletic or be active in your older years, you have to understand the importance of the off-the-field activities that you're doing.
You make a good point. I Ricardo make a very good point to supplement that. I always say this, a lot of persons in Trinidad and Tobago needs a worldview. Because you see, a lot of persons They will go and play. As I said, the lime all night, they drink, they smoke, all kind of thing. And they go and they do well. And they feel like they are the best because they beat up everybody in Trinidad. But the moment we play against a next country, look at the kind of performance we see.
I got to raise a point and my laptop almost fall, yes? Last week, Thursday, I think it was, the Defence Force team that would have won the Premier League football, I can't remember the proper name of the league right now.
Yes, I know what you're talking.
They played the team against Martinique from wherever up the islands, Curacao or something like that. After 60 minutes, Defence Force was looking fatigued. And it cannot be that the pitch was heavy because God alone knows what is going on with the sun that we have been experiencing for the past week and change.
Yes.
You're in the air condition and it's still sweating. So I could understand the sun having a factor, but you could clearly see that there's something wrong with the level of emphasis that we are putting on fitness with our athletes.
All right, so let me add to that. So two very important components of athletic development that is lacking in Trinidad and Tobago is strength and conditioning and sports nutrition. As a matter of fact, my department on the 29th of November will be hosting a conference, and we're inviting persons from all different sports, whether it be a coach, an athlete, a manager, to come and participate, because we will be focusing on those two topics, strength and conditioning and sport nutrition. You see, a lot of persons train people for fitness, but strength and conditioning is not the same thing as weightlifting, it's not the same thing as powerlifting, and it's not the same thing as aerobic exercise. It is designed to help athletes meet their potential. So for example, what we do a lot of times in Trinidad, you go to cricket training and the coach will tell you, run 20 laps. And the fact is, there's no time in cricket that you need all that aerobic conditioning. You understand what I'm saying? You don't need that. So what we need people to do, we need a lot more persons to become either certified in strength and conditioning, or the teams employ persons who are certified in it to do the training, because the type of fitness that a defender needs is going to be different from what a forward needs. You understand what I'm saying? And a strength and conditioning personnel helps to train the difference between persons versus a general fitness person that have just lifting weights, running laps, and doing that kind of thing. You know, so when we start to have persons like these that monitor as I mentioned before, the load that the athletes are going through, monitoring their training, monitoring the exercise, making their program specific to each athlete, and supervising them over time, then trust me, you definitely see a difference in the fitness of the athletes. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, I have a brethren, right? I'm not going to call names or anything of the sort, but I have a brethren.
See what his name rhymes with now?
No. I have a brethren who we were going to watch a cricket game some time ago, right? And we were talking about sports in general. And he was saying that, why am I going to spend money to, let's say, go and watch Barcelona play, right? Because he's a Barca fan. If 5 games into the season, you go in and put Lewandowski on load management and he not going and play. That's the one game in my life I saved for 20 years to go and watch Barca play. And I'm not going and get to see my favorite player, Lewandowski, play because it's load management. And now with this conversation, we are understanding. Now, we didn't go in depth into what load management is, but we are understanding that playing every game is not feasible for the body. And that the coaching department has to look after these players, because you don't want, after 5 games, you have a grade 2 tear in your hamstring and then you're out for the rest of the season, aka Ansu Fati.
Yeah, so you see, so as I tell you, that's where it's going now. So you see, now in sports, we have a lot more science in sports. We have a lot more research that is being done. So that is why we need the different professionals who are working with our athletes to be educated and to be training these things. Because when you look at it, you see a lot of athletes, they reach world champs, they reach World Cup, and you only see injuries left, right, and center. And we have a bad habit in Trinidad, a very bad habit. We know that, say for example, under 14 game is coming up or under 19 game is coming up, right? We start to train the athletes 8 weeks or 6 weeks before the event. And we start to train them twice for the week. And as we go closer to the event, it moves to 3 times to the week. And as we go closer, you start to have weekend camps. So the load, this is the load. Increasing. And then you take them into competition where they're playing either every day or every other day. And when you look, you see a set of tape all over them, you see all kind of things because they're injured, the body start to break down, poor load management.
So I'm just asking for clarity purposes. So what should be done is like a tiered system where you plateau every so often and then you keep increasing?
Well, it depends, as I say, it depends on the sport as well, right? And it depends, you see, with us, if that's why I'm coming back to development. And one of the things that I mentioned in the article, and I'll tie everything back up, it's good for us to develop sports in high schools. Because in the high school system now, you could have the athletes training from September. And you have them going throughout the rest of the year until whenever it's off season. So the load will be a gradual increase because nothing wrong with the load going up, but it should be gradual. At some point, you might have to plateau a bit and then you go up again, or at some point you come down a bit. But when we have a structured system, the training load could be gradual. And this allows the time for recovery and development. Because when the body gets stronger from the stimulus of exercise, there's a process of breaking down with it to build back up. So if you have the breaking down continuous without enough time to build back up, or the body not meeting the pace to build it back up, then you'll have that breakdown. Sometimes you watch even secondary school football, and you watch some of these guys and like, these guys are talented. When it comes down to the Premier League, and not even 1% of them on scholarships. So where are they? And I'm telling you.
Want me to answer that question?
Well, after my next point. And I'm telling you, when we used to look at a lot of these guys in Form 5 and Form 6, there are some serious injuries. And when I was in Form 5 and Form 6, I never used to see my friends experiencing those injuries, grade 3 tears, and those kind of things, you know?
Now, I like the question you asked, because one of the big issues for me is the fact that after secondary school sports, and I'm not just sticking to football here, after secondary school sports, the fall off of a lot of these athletes is very drastic, huh? And I'm not just talking about in terms of the fall off for how much ever is going to play professionally, but the fall off sometimes in terms of the quality outside of secondary schools football, it is drastic. So I do agree, Adrian, we have a lot of work to do on the developmental phases for athletics here in Trinidad and Tobago. Right? We have a lot of work to do. Ricardo, I see you pondering there.
Well, I like to throw a little stone in the water, but every now and again I want to drop a whole brick for the bujung. What you're telling me is based on the amount of science that is being utilized in athletic development, because a guy played football in the 80s and 90s and he around long time is not necessarily the only qualifications that he should have in terms of coaching today's athlete. Because, parents like to say that they're sending the children by this one school and that one school because of how long they're getting these intercol results and that type of thing, or who was on strike squad. So what you're saying is that there's a possibility that we need more sophisticated and sport-specific coaching.
No, we definitely need it, and experience has its place, right? But there needs to be a mix of it. There needs to be a mix of it. And I'm telling you, if you look at all the international clubs and these things, they spend a lot of money hiring these people. You understand? The strength coach, sports nutritionists, the therapists, you know, they spend on these things. And even LeBron James, if you research it, he could tell you how much he spends on his physiotherapist for the year. He spends millions, right? Because these things are important, because sometimes we look and we say, boy, you know, this person, this is how they do it back then. One of the things we have to face is that children now are not as robust as children back then. So they develop, you can't push them like you push children in the past. So that's what I said. There needs to be a lot more development taking place. And that is something that is seriously lacking here. And we have to also look at the athletes. We push them in sports so much that sometimes we forget the academic side of things. Because while we don't need them to be bright, but at least have some passes so that, you know, we could matriculate you into a university, so you could go and play for the university. And then if you choose to go professional in terms of sports or go professional in terms of career, then that's really up to you. But we don't really facilitate a lot of that. And so we see a lot of our youths, they end up injured, they finish high school, they don't have enough passes, and you know, they're gone in whatever other activities society about there for them, good or bad. Yeah, so when we look back at the Australians, as I said, at the Commonwealth Youth Games, they look a bit more built than our athletes, and because of the development that is involved, they have a strong school-based system, and not just, as I said, to develop athletes, but also from a research perspective. They see that students, certainly to things like the performance, their ability to pay attention, the leadership skills, these things better when they participate in sports. So they have a strong system in place that push the development through high schools. And so when you look at their students in terms of body, and even when you look at some of those coming from the UK as well, they look more developed. And it's because there's developmental programs in place for them. And I'm saying that if we capitalize on our high schools here, we could implement something that shocked me this week that I never thought of in all my life. Someone said to me that in high schools, we expect teachers to supervise co-curricular activities and they're not paid to do so. Growing up in Jamaica, it was never even a thought. I never heard a teacher mention that hey, listen, I'm not doing this because I'm not paid to do it. A lot of teachers volunteered and learned how to be netball coaches, football coaches, track and field coaches, right? And they spent the time to involve children, to develop them, and not just because, as I said, if we're only focusing on the brain section of it and not looking at developing other skills and other talents in our young people, then we might be missing out on the big picture. You understand what I'm saying? Imagine if Usain Bolt, Shelley and Fraser Price, you know, Otto Bolan, if all these people went to school and they tried to become a doctor, where would they be today? You know, what would be the pride of our nations if these people had only focused on these things? So I'm saying, in our school system, we have to find a way, or we could develop our sports program, get different persons involved. And I'm saying some persons might look and say, all right, we don't have the money to do it and the government need to give us money. And I tell people that in Jamaica, I don't remember the government sponsoring any program in any high school. I don't remember it. The school funds it. If the school doesn't fund it, the past student associations, parents and teachers associations. Sometimes the schools have concerts, different fundraisers, walkathons. Sometimes they go to the local businessman in the community, the man who owns the Chinese grocery, the man who owns this and that, and say, hey, we're having this for our athletes, we need this. And people sponsor and people come together and put these things in place so we could have it for the athletes. But it's always quick to give up if we don't have the money to do these things. But nobody don't want to go the extra mile to say, let me see if I could get to sponsor. Let me see if I could. And trust me, the schools who do this, when you look at their students, the students tend to be the better performing students. And if you look at high schools in Trinidad, the better performing schools are the schools with a lot more co-curricular activities.
Yeah, it's no wonder when you look at the schools that performing, getting the results, getting scholarships, getting the kids into tertiary education, that type of thing. It's not just because they are a prestige school. A lot of the times, these schools are prestigious because they aim to develop the students in a multilateral way. It's not just a case of
Holistic.
Yeah, they take the holistic approach, right? When you specifically chase the paperwork and you don't really look to develop the personalities and the ability to perform, well then you end up with kids who bright like bulb, and they can't write an exam because they don't know how to deal with high stress situations, or they don't know conflict resolution. So you find they getting in disciplinary troubles, that type of thing, and then they head a fall off. I'm just saying that there are socio-economic factors.
Yes,
It's not.
we have to consider, yes.
Yeah, it's not just a psychological factors. There is more than just. I like to say we feel the only thing bright is LED, lawyer, engineer, doctor. But there's athletic intelligence out here. There's mechanical intelligence, spatial intelligence. There are people who are musically intelligent. If we just keep chasing this whole paperwork and pension mentality, or start a business mentality, we're going to lose out on a lot of the value that these different children, these youths, have to provide to our society.
Yes.
And I go and add to this, and all I know as Amanda's try to give some useful business insight where I can. All you feel Republic Bank, they sponsor things like the CPL because they like cricket. All you feel Sagico and those other companies is do it because they like the sport. They do it because they could get it as a tax write-off in a multitude of what you initially invested. So let's just say you invest $10 million behind the entries, right, in Trinidad and Tobago. You could go on your tax form and claim that for at least 20, as a business. Once you're registered and you're paying taxes, most importantly. That is the thing. So when corporate Trinidad and Tobago want to kick a fuss that there's no benefit to them investing in sports and culture here in Trinidad and Tobago, the word I want to say would get me kicked off a radio.
Well,
But you see that booby jazz?
Yes.
Miss me with that kind of excuse. Because investing in culture, investing in sport is something that shouldn't just be a financial benefit. It should be a national benefit. And as we sit in here 2 days before the independence, the 61st anniversary of independence here in Trinidad and Tobago, I implore corporate Trinidad and Tobago to get more involved in sport. The Chinese shop has always said that around the corner from the school, donate 20 cases of water. School starting back next week. School football starting back the week after. Donate 20 cases of water, 2 cases of Powerade or something to the school. You could put that as a tax write-off if you're paying your taxes. I had to keep saying that part.
As I say that, I had a special shout out to the restaurant formerly known as Namfong's, because Namfong's used to sponsor and support everything. Namfong was sponsoring and supporting things in prayers, things in NAPS, things in countless other schools that I don't want to call the names because I can't vouch for it personally. But what I mean is that to me was an indicator of the type of business community that was supportive across the board. I miss them days, man. I miss them days. People being involved because
we need more of that.
Mm-hmm.
We need more of that.
Yeah, correct.
Because let me tell you something, you see, when you have a sports program going and you have a lot of especially young men involved, you see, when they realize that things, you go training, you can't get a little water, or you can't get a proper boots to wear for football or proper spikes, sometimes these things become discouraging to them. And I always say, We should not mince when it comes down to investing in anything with our youth. Because if we don't invest in it, the man who's selling the coke and the weed and the man with the gun, they're going to find something for them to do. You understand? And then them same persons will come and terrorize us later. You understand what I'm saying? But if we help those same young men from in school to develop the talents and say, listen, we're going to get you to move on from here to play for a club somewhere there, or to go overseas, or you know, because these are the talents. And as I say, some person just won't be bright. But if we provide these channels for them, they could be doing something more constructive with their energies and their time.
You know, we getting perilously close to the hour 7 p.m., my fellows. So, Adrian, we will try to have you back very soon to continue this conversation.
Yeah,
Right.
I was thinking we could bring in Seka as well.
No, well, actually, I have a partner of mine who was the coach for the Barataria North Secondary School women's team. And he took them from the lower division straight up to the Premiership division in under 2 years.
All right, well,
So I
let's
think
make it
I'll try
happen.
to get him on the show as well. But I know he's starting back school next week, so we'll see how fast we could get him. Right? But we have to, you see that point you raised, the last point you raised there about the alternative things to bring interest in life. I just watch, now everybody know I just go and watch secondary school football. Hopefully they fix the Maniram John so the game's going back there and we're not going and be sitting down in the hot sun. I just had to throw that in card, right?
I saw a schedule and there were
Yeah.
games in the money, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, but I hope they stand fixed now so I could get some shelter and not be in the hot sun or in the rain. Right? I just look at some of these student athletes when football season is going on. Could you tell me why? And this is a rhetorical question, a 17-year-old has on a gold chain, which you would see in some of the zesting videos of that size. That just shows how much they are being influenced by the community that some of them come from. And football is not just the thing that they like doing, but football or sports on the whole is the way out from that lifestyle that they're growing up in. Right? I'll just close off and I'll get Adrian the last say today or you, Ricardo. Right? This is yours truly, DJ Aaron 868. I remind you that culture is my code. All right? And I tell you that love is the currency, so spend some today. Let somebody know that you love them, guys.
Yeah, well, this is Ricardo Mitchell, the social stage on the global stage. Happy Independence, Trinidad and Tobago. God bless the Caribbean. Rest in peace, Denyse Plummer and Michael Anthony as well. I want to end on a serious note. I ain't gonna call it a low point. I'll call it a serious note, and it's to kind of answer your question, Aaron. If we don't deposit in terms of make an investment in the youth, we can't complain when they come to withdraw. What you're seeing in terms of these youths who being supported by elements of the community is not just so that one or two of them could get out, you know. It grants them access to what is a potential market. Because now you have a reason to be around the rest of students. You have a certain influence within a community that they're looking to develop as potential clients. I want to say what I had to say, how I had to say it at the end of the program. I just saying is that if we don't invest in the youths, they will come to withdraw. So God bless Trinidad and Tobago. Adrian, thank you for joining us in the living room tonight.
Thank you.
And the floor is yours to say to the listening public what you will.
Well, thanks again, gentlemen, for having me in the living room. It was indeed a pleasure again to be here. I want to also extend happy 61st anniversary to the beautiful Twin Isle Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. You know, this has been my second home for the past 78 years. I've been here a couple of times before and I've loved Trinidad and I will always love Trinidad and Tobago. And as I said, beautiful culture, very, very talented young people, very, very talented persons are here. And we need to put systems in place that help a lot of our young people to develop on their athletic talents. because we watch all these games. We want to watch the Olympics next year, and we see Trinidad coming home with medals. We want to watch football and see Trinidad getting a trophy, coming up high in CONCACAF and all these things. We want to continue to see it. We're doing well in sports like aquatics and cycling, and we must commend that. But the talent is there in every other aspect. So let us do it so that, you know, as a nation, we could really be proud of all the other investments we have made in sports in the past, and, you know, see all of that come to fruition. So Trinidad and Tobago, thanks again for having me here. Thanks to the host of this program for having me on this program. It was indeed a pleasure sharing my perspective, and I will always be there to support Trinidad and Tobago as we grow from strength to strength.
Mr. Desmond, take it away.
When you're alive and you're taking the time you should be receiving all the good things you do, people just don't see. But when you're dead or you're dying, moments away from expiring, ask to see a copy of your eulogy. 'Cause when they're dead and they're gone, we just shed we crocodile tears. It's only then we remember all the things they did through the years. We show appreciation for their contribution when it means nothing to them. Stop this hypocrisy and just simply say amen. Amen. Kitchen, now we're sorry. Yes, we're so sorry. Sorry. We wait till you're dead to buy out your records from Crosby. Kitchen, now we're sorry. Could never replace this loss. On life support is then we offer Trinity Cross. Never once treated as a true official, but we want to offer you tech funeral. We wait till the Grandmaster dead to put honors on his head. We so dread, always wait till we heroes dead to put a crown on them. Undisputed king of Calypso, would we see the body suffer the same fate? Some people still call him a Grenadian, saying he's not true Trinbagonian. For his due, would we wait until it's too late? When we heroes dead and they're gone, we just shed thy tears. It's only then we remember all the things they did through the years. We show appreciation for their contribution. It means nothing to them. Stop this hypocrisy and just simply say amen. Amen. So Sparrow, we're sorry. Yes, we're so sorry. Sorry that you're alive and your record's not selling out by Crosby. Sparrow, we're sorry. Can't compensate for this loss. With we eyes closed, we should give you about 50 Trinity Cross. No one seems to care right now. You suffer and fighting a medical disorder. What we wait till the body dead to put honors on his head. So dread, always wait till we heroes dead to put a crown on